Hello, everyone. I see folks are joining right now. Good to see some familiar and friendly names. My name is Robert, so I'll be getting started here any second now. I'd like to go ahead and set it off by apologizing for the delay on getting started. Ran into some microphone problems. Had to run to another room and find another microphone and all that stuff. So I'm in the recording studio at the office now. That's why my voice is so smooth. So yeah, I'm here to share anything you'd like to know. Just kind of, leading with the same stuff we always lead off with. I know that everyone that's in here so far has heard this spiel 100 times, so I'm going to give it to you in about 10 seconds. Um, Utilize our YouTube channel, utilize Solutions Marketplace, and DocBot is now built into decisions. No one here is going through training, but if you were, we have a second stand up time. But I know all the names that are in here. So, hello, friendly friends. So, yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Like I said, I'm on the line. Greg's on the line. Jasmine from documentation is on the line. Um, Maybe they wanted some anonymity, but not today. So, yeah, if you guys don't have anything to that you want to kind of lead me towards, I have plenty of things that I can talk about that I think are kind of cool or unique. Um, but I'll give it about a couple moments to see if anybody has anything or if anyone's going to join in the next minute with some direction. But like I said, I've got some stuff that I don't mind showing off here. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I can. Again, welcome to Lunch and Learn. Happy Monday, March 24th, 2025. My name's Robert with the training team. Happy to be here. All of those things. Happy you're here as well. Um, I guess some stuff I'll start out with is just a little bit forward thinking, just because it's on my mind and just because you guys that are in here are all power users. Um, and just, to be totally transparent, I still need to do some research on this myself because I found out about this on Friday at about 4 p.m. I'm making content for it this week. So hopefully this week you'll have some content to go along with it. But I will go ahead and give you a preview of a new accelerator that's coming out. You see it dead center, top frame of my screen, Cortex, and built-in description. So again, this is just on the App Store. I believe it's already there. Cortex. Um, you're going to need probably some documentation and materials to get it working 100% right, which again, we are working on this week, but it's already live on the App Store. What is Cortex? Let's see if we can read this thing. I think this description is actually better. So let's go back over here. Essentially, it is loosely what we built our DocBot on, our AI chat completion engine kind of thing. So it's going to allow you to manage a series of questions and answers, scoring criteria, vector database, create your own chat bot based on source material, indecisions. And again, it's loosely what we built Dart, aka DocBot, on. So you'll have the ability as a power user to create a chat engine in decisions that has some type of vector database with that match score criteria. And if it seems like I'm just reading the description, you're right. I am just reading the description because I don't know very much about it yet. But it is going to be really cool. Like I said, I'm spending a good part of my week this week so that by Friday you'll have a launch kind of demo video. But essentially, it's going to come with dashboards. I can't show you a working one right now because it's behind the scenes, but you'll have different teams that will be able to answer and rate questions as well as rate answers. So you can kind of dictate and kind of train the model uh, to make sure it's giving correct information. So different teams will have different chat histories. So on ours, you might have a sales chat, a support chat, a product training chat. Those kind of things are all trained, and those teams can individually go in and score the answers provided by the chat completion. And it's utilizing Chat GPT, I believe, at this moment because I had to put in my pin yesterday to get it all set up. So, but it is really cool coming down the pipeline. Again, I know everyone in here, all of y'all are power users. So shout out to you guys. Hopefully Cortex will be working. Yeah, we've been kind of really working on revitalizing the App Store. It is a really useful tool if you have the background to understand how to dissect it. But as it currently sits, as I can probably align with you guys, a lot of this stuff is hard to install and figure out what's going on. But that's what we've kind of been working on. So just as an example, and just to bring things kind of full circle for what we talked about earlier, you might find one and you go, let's find one that I actually did here. Um, some of these, where is the one that we used to call tomato, but now we call it something nice and friendly? Loan origination. This is a monolith right here. This thing is insane. Um, but loan origination, right? So what I'm going to be trying to do in the next couple days for the chat completion model, Cortex we call it, is if you go to our YouTube channel, I have some like accelerator insights on our training channel, that QR code. According to one of our other regulars in Lunch and Learn, they say the easiest way to find it is to type in Decisions Lunch and Learn. But um, right, I made a video here talking about how it's set up. So ideally, again, something like this I'll have up near Friday-ish, for the new Cortex model that kind of talks about how the things work and how to go through setup and all that stuff, and the dashboards and all that kind of cool stuff. So again, something to look forward to, something to learn about in the future. Look how much stuff's in here, right? So let's go ahead and just download this just for fun. And again, this is where do you find this? You go to projects, upper right, App Store. Um, I'm sure everyone is enjoying watching me download 1,381 objects, but it can be really useful, especially when it comes to new building paradigms and kind of reverse engineering functionality. It can also be useful for just reducing friction to deployment of a function that you already want. You kind of use it as a skeleton and frame out the flesh on there. But yeah, just so you know, it's available. So again, preparing down this file. Geez. But I have one for loan origination. I have one for a couple of the other ones. If you go through that YouTube channel, it's usually something about an accelerator. Um, but yeah, we're working on providing more straight out of the box solutions, or at least out of the box starting points. I know that's a big push coming into the year 2025 because we're fourth of the way through it though already, huh? I probably shouldn't have started this download because nobody wants to see it. Oh, and I see more people are joining. For those of you that are just joining, don't wait for me to finish because I will never finish. Just interrupt me because I'm just ranting at this point. Um, if you have a question, see, even more people are just jumping in. Thank you guys all for joining today. Like I said, give it a second for their audio to connect. If you have a question, interrupt me in the chat, raise your hand, however you can signify me. I will unmute you. I was talking about accelerators and new stuff coming down the pipeline that I'm working on, but I would gladly take a suggestion on what to talk about or gladly take a problem and trying to get you closer to resolution. So for any of the folks that are just joining, please give me some type of nudge in the right direction. If not, like I said, I can talk decisions all day. Um, they pay me to do it, to be honest. So, if no one has anything that specifically want to talk about, I can just walk in a random direction. But again, I'll take any guidance. If you say, "Hey, I want to learn more about X, Y, and Z," or I'm having a specific problem, let's address those things. Because I'm here, Greg's here, documentation's here. Oh, I see something in the Q&A already. Let's go. I'll kind of read it out. In my development environment, I have public folders that hold one page for my landing pages. However, I noticed that when I go to production, I see all of my landing pages plus another page called folder view in the top right where my pages are. It almost seems like it's a default for all my folders. Is there a way to get rid of this? A couple things. Yes, that folder view is default. It essentially is kind of like not a perfect example here. But not a perfect analogy or example, but it's essentially kind of like a show package contents folder view. So like you could have a dashboard or you could have a ton of stuff in there. When you go to that folder view, it doesn't look at the dashboard or the page. It just shows shows package contents essentially. Again, not a perfect technical analogy, but yeah, that folder view will always be there. And you say, how can I get rid of this? And then I guess the second part is plus all my landing page in the top right. I have a public folder that hold one page for my landing pages. I'm not obviously gonna unmute you, Grant, but I'm just trying to clarify. I should have never started this silly install, man. It's too late now to pivot away. All right. Grant, a lot of talk. And then Smith, I got your question as well. We'll handle that one here in a second. So just to clarify, Grant, you said, is there some issue with it having one page and then when you go to production, there's multiple pages, or am I reading that wrong? I have public folders that hold one page for my landing pages. However, I notice when I go to production, I see all of my landing pages. So what is the, can you fill me in on the gap that I'm missing there?
Yeah, so in my development environment, everything looks good. I don't have a folder view page. And then when I go into production, I notice I do have a folder view page and it's just empty.
Hmm.
And I don't want my users seeing that. I just want them to have the one page in production.
Let's see here. I'm not too sure about that off the top of my head, Greg. If you don't mind doing a little bit of research on your end, see if there's a way to hide that folder view while I'm kind of click clack patty whacking away here. Um,
I do have a question for you, Grant. As far as that folder view, have you tested a customer's view with a non-admin account if they see that?
Yeah,
Okay, and they still see folder view.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
what can I put that's, I don't got to do a bunch of building here. Nice. This is what I wanted right here. We'll go scarf. We'll do another one over here. Guess what? Scarf again. So up here, you're seeing folder view essentially every time.
Right.
Hmm. All right. Add a page. Pick my page. Dashboard. Love that order. And then I might have missed it because I was too busy click clack patty whacking. But do, is there an issue with going from one page and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of pages, or did I read that wrong?
No, that is not an issue.
Okay, cool. Okay, I read that wrong. My bad. All right, man. So let's think here. Folder view. Yeah. Let me start by doing a little bit of research here. Oh, didn't mean to flash that. Pull up one more screen. Hopefully, oh, of course, it's the wrong screen again. Sorry, folks. That's me and Greg's chat in the background that you just saw. Um, how to hide folder view. Is there a way to disable folder? Okay, so if you turn it off in portal settings, it's going to turn it off for all users. You don't want that. All right, let me keep kind of digging here a little bit. Yes, we can hide folder view. Someone gave a direct answer with no context. Give me a moment. We're coming up on there. How to hide folder view. All right, give me one more moment. And while I'm kind of brainstorming here and typing things in, Smith, for sure, yes, I have a good one for that. And then Sean saying you can create a page visibility rule. That is very true. But wouldn't you need a Vitali? Wouldn't you need a? Where would I place that? I guess is the question. Like, because we don't have but we don't necessarily have a configuration folder. So Vitali might know. So he's looking it up. I'm looking it up, typing in tickets into our support portal that I know talked about this. Jeremy, go ahead, man. I got you. Jeremy, you're unmuted, by the way.
Um, I was just curious how in his development environment is folder view off?
That is a
Like
good
how
question
was
for
that
Greg.
accomplished? To then mimic that in prod, because maybe something just didn't get checked out with the project in prod that is present in dev.
Good point. Very good point. Very, very good point. So in dev, if dev, hey, I can believe Grant. Can I have you are you in your dev environment right now?
Yeah.
All right. Can you navigate to settings? From settings, we're going to go into settings. From settings, we're going to go down to P for portal settings down here. P for portal settings.
Okay.
Is this checked in dev?
No.
It's unchecked.
Yeah.
Can you go?
It's
Can you
unchecked.
go? Can you go check in prod?
Yeah, sure.
And again, it's settings, portal settings. That's what I found a ticket where someone asking the same question from a couple of years.
Yeah, in prod it's checked.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's what the ticket. So I found a ticket with the exact same question from 2020, and that's where they were told to navigate to. So that would be my first initial guess. I would try turning that off and then checking it. And if you don't
Okay.
mind, while you kind of just do that and see if it's working, I'm just going to float around and help the other folks and then I'll come back and check on you. No problem at all.
Okay.
So I got maybe one, maybe two questions of the same kind of variety here. So I'll unmute you both. And they're both related to exception handling. So, hi, I was wondering how we can capture exceptions for all components in a flow. And then the second question is, I would like if we have a step in decisions flow to throw the exception to a subflow, which would send an email to us. Would you teach us how to do that? Are those both related, or is there a gap in between those two questions?
Oh, no, they're related.
Cool. Yeah. So, the first thing I'll do is I'm going to send you something just because I'm going to send you something. Put it in the chat here. This is going to be a real baseline, but just so you have it, I made this personally. It's pretty short, I believe. Yeah, 4 minutes. It's not a perfect 100% encapsulation of everything that is error handling, but it does have some. Oh, thanks, Greg. Thanks for that link, by the way. So Greg's link in the chat is related to the original ask, but how to do it with page visibility rules from Vitali's suggestion, which was you can create a configuration for folder type. Grant said that worked. Yeah, no, thank you, man. I'm learning every day too. So I really like these lunch and learns because it gives me an opportunity, maybe not to lunch, but definitely to learn. So in that video right here, again, it's not an end all be all of exception handling, but it does talk about pathways and this catch exception. And if you're familiar with this, I'll just kind of give you, or even if you're not, I'll kind of just give you the quick rundown here. So generally speaking, in your flows, you're going to have a couple of options for divide. How do you spell that word? Divide. You're going to have a couple options here for the way that your steps or flows or decisions in general handles exceptions. So I'm not a math guy, but I know that you can't divide 0 by 0. So every time I hit this and try and debug it, I'm gonna get a 0 or I'm gonna get an exception. It says, hey, we don't know how to do this math. So individualized steps when it comes to exception handling. I know this doesn't directly answer your question, but I think the next part will. On individualized steps, it might be advantageous to create individual exception paths for individual steps. So down here under outcomes, you can add an outcome for an exception. And then when this happens, right? So say this thing happens, we'll go this way. We'll make this a constant. We'll put this in the center. It's best kind of pop up. We'll make this a constant. We'll say, oh, something broke. Something broke, right? So now whenever I hit that kind of process, that exception path. It says, uh-oh, something broke. It went down that path. But what can be helpful, and in that video, it talks about the relationship between subflows as well. So let's say you have a flow with a bunch of subflows in it. The advantage of using this catch exception step. So, oh, I can't do that. I got to find the actual catch exception. So you'll notice that this step, or this, yeah, I guess it is a step, is like an outcome only. Like there's no real income ability to go to it, right? I can't, like even if I wanted to, I guess I could, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't. But this catch exception is going to allow you to perform a different type. So we'll do another. And again, in here, you could put a subflow that has an email, as someone else mentioned in the chat, or you know, that has all of what needs to happen, right? So like on our end, internally in decisions, we have a lot of automation that one of our trainers, Khalil, in India, set up for automating our services. And the great thing is he put in here an email with a string equals based on the error code that comes out of the log, the next steps. So anytime something breaks in our automation, it emails our whole team and says, this was the error. Here should be the 5 steps to resolve it. And he consolidates it all into like one kind of error handling package that is kind of provisioned for that specific project and for that specific flow, right? Because you want, at the end of the day, you want your exception handling to be concise. You want it to be curated for your individual flows. You know, having generic error handling is great, but it's not necessarily going to help your end users. So even notice how on here, when I go, congratulations, this is the catch exception path, right? You'll notice on here that when I run this, it should still run this one over here. Why? Because its unique exception handling path is prioritized over the broad catch exception step. However, if I get rid of that and I say, never mind, I don't need specified exception handling for this step anymore, right? I can just kind of leave this over here, put this in no man's land like it doesn't exist, right? So now, because I don't have specified error handling, any step in this flow that does not have specific error handling will go to the catch exception. So now that I have this 0, 0, notice how, boom, oh, I didn't do this center pop-up. This is ugly. Let me go back and fix that because that's going to bother me. If I go right here, back to center, right? I can just delete this for now because I don't need anything there. If I debug this, congratulations, this is the catch exception path. So this will handle any, right? Any steps that don't have unique exception paths in there. I know part of the question was something about subflows. It's going to work the exact same way. So I can go pick or create flow here. I'll pick existing, or no, I'll create a new one. I'll say this, new subflow. And I see I got tons of stuff in the chat, so I gotta get there once I get there. But if I add divide here in this subflow and say, oh, from here now I want to go 0 by 0. Let's get rid of this so it can at least make it here, right? So my error breaking function is in a subflow that's parented by this flow that we're looking in right now. When I run this, we're still catching that exception. So it catches kind of the exceptions that live underneath it. Thanks. It helps to solve your problem. Perfect. Yeah, great. And like I said, the video that I sent out, it took me about 6 minutes to go through that probably right there. And this is it in 4 minutes, a little more concise and a little more consolidated. It talks about all that same stuff. But yeah, like I said, I would recommend maybe creating a log step, sending an email. Again, that catch exception is just like a broad error handling, kind of glove to catch those things. Cool. So that's catch exceptions. We talked about that. Any flow to subflow. Smith's configuration work for me. That helps solve my problem. Okay. And like I said, feel free if I didn't answer any of those questions, feel free to I think almost everyone in here is unmuted at this point. You know what, for solidarity and friendship kind of thing. I'll also mute everybody.
Yes, Robert, can you share that video again?
Yeah, no problem at all. I believe I just put it in the chat. And if you want me to email it to you, I can do that as well. It says me to everyone in the chat.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And like I said, if anyone needs any kind of help in any capacity, feel free to let me know. I got pretty much everybody. I officially have everyone unmuted. So feel free to interrupt me. If not, like I said, I don't mind bouncing around a little bit. We've done 30 minutes, but I've got plenty of other things I can show off. Yeah, catch exception. Super, super, super good step. Just catches them all. But again, if you do have specific error handling, that will be prioritized. If things are in a subflow, they will fall out to the parent's catch exception. I haven't tested if I put a catch exception in that subflow, which one it goes to. But you know what? We can learn right now in about 2 seconds. Let's do it real quick. For my wrong flow. Nice. So let's say hypothetically I put a catch exception in here. Where does that prioritize? Catch exception. And here we're going to go log. And we'll just do a show pop-up for fun. Inside the subflow. Center. Boom. All right, let's see what happens here. Which one does it go to? Goes to inside the subflow. That's it. So yeah, okay. So I guess it's kind of what are they? There's like shelled in like a Russian doll kind of thing. So the further you go into a subflow, it will prioritize this. When I remove this, it'll prioritize the parent flow. So kind of in order, I guess it goes individualized exception handling, personal, by step, then by flow, and then by parent flow. So that's kind of cool that you can have multiple tiers of this kind of thing. So, even in here, like, again, back to my example that Khalil made, like he could put in this email step, like it broke inside of this particular flow. Because if you're getting this particular one, it was in this subflow. You might have a flow that has 27 flows inside of it. And you're like, okay, now which of these 27 rooms has a leaky faucet? You can specify that with individualized exception handling within those flows as well, which is a really kind of good option for you. Because again, not all we want, but we really want to prevent any downtime. We really want to prevent anything happening outside of expected behavior. So cool stuff there in exception handling. If I don't get any guidance here, I'll show you all off one more thing, and then I'll probably head on out. Let's see, which one of these do I want to go with? I'll show you two things because I think they're both kind of cool. I've done this probably every lunch and learn, but I do like it. One thing that's new in version 9.9, I have a YouTube video on this as well. Shocker. Is you can now utilize tab names from data. So that's going to give you options as input to flows as well as in active form flows. So in previous iterations, you would have these tab names be kind of constants. Now you can set them up to be selectable from data name. When you do that, it'll show up as an option, as an input, right? Account tab, it tells you right there, as well as you can set these in active form flows. So I have one kind of big active form flow with one big old create data step that I'm using to change a bunch of data, including the tab name, right? So the tab name is changing as well. I'm using a change value on the output of this create data step. Say, hey, change the value of what exists in form data based under these kind of contexts. So in an actual use case, right, I am parsing into a data grid all of my accounts that include the word decisions on them. And then notice as I click these, like I click Robert, now it says Robert here. And when I click on it, oh, there's Robert Grauer's information. Jared. There's Jared's information. So I'm using a selectable, right? Find the selected account and sending that to a tab name. Kind of see this populating over here. Send it to a tab name and populate that tab. And all that's done via one create data step. So I'm sending that data out to the tab name as well as these three fields. So it kind of just gives you a little bit more flexibility with side containers and with header containers. That is one cool thing. 9.9 only at this point. But if you want to go back and let's say you're on an older version of Decisions and you want something cool to walk away with today, right? Form tiles. I know I've talked about this before as well. I made a video on it, so I just have it. I've been going through a tremendous amount of updates here in Decisions, going through from 9.7 to 9.8 to 9.9 back to 9.8 up to 9.9. But Form tiles is older. And kind of the cool thing about form tiles is that what a form tile is going to allow you to do is, oh, not what I wanted. Maybe I have the wrong project here. I guess I have the wrong one. Let's see if I have it somewhere else. If not, I might just show you real quick. Form tile page. Yeah. I must have purged it. Apologies. Like I said, I've been updating and downgrading and side grading all day. But essentially what a form tile is going to allow you to do, which is really kind of a great function, is it's going to allow you to create a form on a dashboard or a page. And really the unique thing that you need to know about this is that traditionally one form lives in one flow. You know, it can live in more, but you know, form for info. And I can create a field here, right? So let's just say, oh, I need someone to on this Pat dashboard to tell me their name, right? You can add a button, or you can set active form flows to kind of say when value is changed, do X, Y, and Z, all that kind of stuff. But for now, let's just say it says name. Again, in previous iterations of decisions, you're going to have, or in every other use case of a form and decisions, not even previous iterations, but you're going to have a flow that has a form in it. Now, with form tiles, you have a form that lives between two flows. So rather than this form, like just being on a flow somewhere, again, I added a single field for name to my form tile. When I go to this input flow and I click this red end step, I'm giving an input there. So you can almost imagine that the red step here, an end step in your input flow, is the form itself. So when you can use fetch entities or get data however you want, some type of rule logic to be able to parse that data and populate the fields on the form, maybe a drop down that shows all the names that already exist. And again, I've got a video on that kind of in this world. It's called form tiles, something like that. Here it is. Utilize forms built into pages, 12 minutes long. But it allows you to kind of like a drop down, right? So I fetched my entities there to be able to get this drop down to work. And I put that in the input flow. You'll also notice here, so I have, again, a form, an input flow that populates that. What happens after the form? You have a separate flow for that as well, an output flow. And you'll notice that the data that comes out of that form should be found right here. So that's form tiles, really quick and short. But we talked about quite a bit so far. What else is new and fun? Greg, you got anything new and fun you want to talk about for a minute or two?
Let's see here. Do I
You don't
have
have to.
anything new and fun?
You don't have to.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything queued up at the moment.
Cool. No problem. I'm not gonna, I'll spare you guys on some of the 9.8 stuff. What have I learned about lately? I'll just kind of loop back and just loop back with some stuff. What I would recommend, if with all of you guys, I mean everyone that's in here, I know all of your names. You probably know me by now. You're all power users of decisions, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to join these. You know, it really is nice, and as a facilitator of these things, it's nice. I would just encourage you, if you want to take kind of your decisions building to the next step, try your best to look at what modules we have available that your organization already kind of uses and see if there's ways that you can implement them to kind of power you up in a quick way. I know there's this kind of AI topical storm of brewing, you know, and we're trying our best to be able to implement them and give you flexibility within them. So if you are unfamiliar, we have all of these individual AI modules, AI dot something, based on various providers. But we also have one called AI Common. The advantage of AI Common is mainly for chat completion, but it'll allow you to decide either at runtime or at a project level which engine or which completion service you're going to use. So rather than saying, I want to switch from OpenAI steps, I got to reprogram this all with Anthropic steps. If you put the AI Common, you can hot kind of flash between OpenAI and Anthropic and send those chats to different ones kind of designed at runtime or at a project level. So it allows some kind of flexibility while you're kind of scaling up and seeing which one's going to work best for you. Another thing I'd recommend to the power users, I mentioned it earlier, we are kind of double downing on it, is the App Store. We're trying our best to get more and more documentation around these solutions so that your path to building, development, deployment, all that stuff is reduced. As well as just, as someone who's been doing a lot of release note stuff and looking down the pipeline, we are doubling down, tripling down on health score. So under your info here, details, every feature we've had for like the last 5 have had updates to this. We just added health scores to rules. But we've also added a lot to this dashboard on who edited it last and things along those lines, more and more drop downs. But we're trying to just give you more insights into kind of the black box of decisions, best practices, because as a developer, I can empathize with, I'm building, but I don't know if I'm building it right, or and I don't know if I'm actually building this in a way that's scalable. Ideally, this is going to give you more insight into that, as well as we are introducing with the next release, which would be 9 and 10, 9.9 at this point. I should know that because I make
I think
them all.
9.9.
Yeah, 9.9. Yeah, 9.9. I should know because I'm super involved in that. But 9.9, there's going to be more and more stuff related to scheduling on a schedule, checking the logs of your environment to notify you if things are going awry. So if you have stuff that we have recognized through our support channels as common problems that people don't recognize, that kind of bubbles up underneath the UI of decisions, because obviously, we're a tool lives on top of a database, but there might be problems that you don't know are existing because decisions, the user experience doesn't really flash it in your face, but your database is swelling or things along those lines, or certain latency issues. We are implementing with 9.9 more and more, just kind of things to keep you within the bounds of a healthy project. And that's going to be coming with 9.9. There's an acronym for it. It's called PAT, P-A-T, but it will be live with 9.9, and it will kind of watch your logs for you in the background and notify you if things are going bad. And I know that's not a direct correlation to project health, but it's an adjacent kind of to that world of just health, decisions health versus project health. And we're kind of tripling down on just trying our best to clearly kind of state what is the best practices. So yeah, I did maybe 36 to 40 minutes, somewhere in that range. If anyone has any questions, I'll gladly take it. I'm feeling really good. And again, I'm super grateful that everyone takes the time out of their day to join. Nothing worse than talking to an empty lobby. So thank you guys again. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to let me know in the next couple of moments. If not, I might just wrap this up a little early and kind of get it on YouTube. I know we've been harping the YouTube thing, but that's where I spend most of my days messing with this. Not most of my day, but about an hour a day. We have a couple hundred videos at this point, man. We're coming up on 500 videos, I believe. So, yeah, it's helpful for us to know what you might need. All right. So I think we did a pretty good job. We talked about some stuff. We talked about the folder view. We talked about exception handling. Talked about project health. We talked about 9.9 stuff. We talked about form tiles. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Once again, thank you guys all for joining. Much appreciated. If you have any questions, email training@decisions.com or support@decisions.com, and we'll get back to you. Thank you guys very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.